Okay, I want to talk about fake news, all right? Because yesterday, when I saw the report about Trump being in the Oval Office and disclosing top secret information to Russians while he was in the Oval Office, where the US press wasn't even allowed, I was just like, okay, I generally find uh, Washington Post, New York Times, things like that to be generally very credible. But I was like, this is insane. All right. So my first thought was, I certainly hope this is true, like 100% true. Because if it's not, then you're going to have Trump use this as his whole fake news excuse, and it'll wash away all the credibility that the press has gotten over the past several months, where they've been our sole source of all the dirt on this dude, okay? And it would just wipe it away in one fell swoop. But then, by the same argument, I was thinking, you know what? Well, Washington Post knows this. So while I think that these are very credible news organizations that do their work and research their stuff, I think they have been taken into high gear lately, number one, because of all the fake news talk. And number two, I think they took it up to another gear because of how explosive this story would be. So I had faith, but I was worried a little bit that it wouldn't be fully true or whatever. Here's when I knew that it was true. When McMaster popped in and out like a cuckoo clock and didn't take any questions and didn't even contradict what the story said. At the same time, homeboy that wrote the article for the for the Washington Post, was doing an interview and was just chill with it. Ask me whatever you want. Here's who I talked to in the White House. We had to figure out what, that I didn't disclose too much so that it wouldn't be disclosing confidential information and whatever. I'm sorry, classified information, whatever. And he was just chill with it. And I said, this story's true. And then after that, the Times came out with their corroboration, and then Reuters came out with theirs. And so I just think, here's my point. It's just hilarious to me that not only did Trump take the phrase fake news from what it originally means, which is actual fake news stories, like the ones that come from these Russian trolls that are actually fake, like John Podesta and Hillary Clinton starting like a pubescent slavery ring or something in some pizza parlor, whatever, which people actually believed, okay? That's fake news, okay? But Trump, there's some genius in this, actually, from a marketing perspective. He took that phrase and changed it to mean anything that he basically doesn't like about himself. Okay? What's funny is that all the news outlets that he calls out for being fake news, I'm talking number one, or like CNN, New York Times, failing New York Times, Washington Post, they're always correct. Always. And I find it ironic. I can only think of one story that came out from these news outlets that I pretty much trust, at least to be accurate. One story that came out that ended up not being true, which was that he had removed the MLK bust from the White House. That was not true. And you know what? That reporter, it was one reporter, he said he didn't see it. And then I think it was within a few hours or the next day at the most, he gave a full-throated apology for that. Okay? So for people that don't want to trust these reliable news outlets, you know what? You're living in la la land. All right. So it's great that Trump tries to deflect with all this talk about fake news, but we know what's really fake. Your presidency. You're out. Bye, Felicia.